shake no day, our voice will resound. Ambazonia's people will never back down. The chains are broken, the pain is gone. Freedom is ours, and a new day has dawned. Shake, shake, no day, no day, no day. Rise to the day, the day, the day. Shake, shake, no day. Amazonia stands strong. We're marching forward where we belong. From the rivers to the peaks, our strength will grow. The dreams of our forebears in us brightly glow. Our heroes, heroines, their fire still burns. We honor their fight with the justice we've earned. Shake, shake, and I'll win. No day, no day. Rise to the day, the day, the day. Shake, shake, no day. Amazonia stands strong. We're marching forward where we belong. We are building today for the children to come. No more tears, no more sorrow for anyone. Our flag will rise high, its colors displaying. Ambazonia's bright future starts today. Shake, shake, over. No day, no day. Rise to the day, the day, the day. Shake, shake, no day. Ambazonia stands strong. We're marching forward.
They don't remember really the fear army for go bush.
We'll shake off
After the Siam,
and cast out the doubt.
now Malende population this way don't remember the fear army for go bush.
No turning
A
out.
very bad thing the way army they do for people them. They do population. We don't remember road.
Shake, shake, no day.
Yes.
With love we will lead.
People don't.
Shake, shake, but that. No day, no day. Rise to the day. No day, the future is bright. Shake no day until the very end. A cruise boy to sing.
Welcome to ACN.
Happy Country Sunday, fellow Ambazonians. And as I talk, happy new month for all of us. Mr. Biya, who declared a war of extermination on the Ambazonian people, launched a brutal genocidal campaign and carried out hundreds of massacres. Dictators are mostly and all wars are usually declared for political motives. And they will show intransigence until when they cannot achieve those political motives using violence. that's when they will start to look for alternative strategies to politically survive. Since October 2023, as the United Nations and all international institutions, including International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice, have said what is taking place in Gaza is a genocide. The world has watched as 90% of Gaza is reduced to rubble. That war, it's also a political opportunity for Benjamin Netanyahu. He wants to politically survive. And the war against Hamas and the people of Palestine is a political calculation. It's not working for him. The new Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister McCartney, his election into the Liberal leadership and eventually becoming the Canadian Prime Minister has brought in a new hope in international politics. He has brought in a new energy and a new focus for the Western powers to redirect their energy instead of supporting policies that have failed. Instead of supporting policies that have failed, policies that are unsustainable, policies that go against the same international laws and international rules, policies that are pro-violence, pro-war, anti-humanity, policy that supports genocide and ethnic cleansing. Most of the Western world provided weapons, funds, and political cover to the Netanyahu government since October 2017. In the last 2 weeks, they have made a drastic turn. Mr. Carney, Mr. Starmer, and Emmanuel Macron are now pushing for something new. A political solution to the conflict in Gaza that is sustainable. Mr. Macron last week has said France is ready to recognize Palestine as a state. Canada, France, the United Kingdom are working with Saudi Arabia for a United Nations conference for the recognition of Palestine. And that effort, Canada, UK, France, working with the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. That conference will be coming up in the next few weeks to mobilize the international community for a two-state solution, because the concept of violence, the philosophy of using violence to ethnically cleanse Gaza and to push the 2+ million Gazans, northern Gazans out. That policy has failed. Why have they made this dramatic turn? Because it doesn't favor them politically. Supporting the genocide in Gaza does not favor Emmanuel Macron and his party politically. It's not favoring Keir Starmer and the Labour politically. The Europeans are making this dramatic turn because their political base is absolutely upset and they want this to come to an end. If not, Macron will lose power, Starmer and the rest will lose power, as we are now seeing across Europe, the changes that are taking place politically in Europe. So most politicians, including Western politicians that fund this war, support this war, provide the weapons and political cover, that strategy is no longer working for them. Now they are adopting a humanistic approach. This is good news for that region of the world. And it's something we all should applaud. Let's go to Ambazonia. How does this relate to the conflict between Ambazonia and Cameroon? Mr. Biya, having been in power for more than 3.5 decades before the beginning of this conflict, has used violence, corruption, bribery, or assassination, or exile to eliminate all internal opponents and all political opponents. So that is his mindset. That's how he thinks. First response to any internal opposition or problem or uprising is the use of force. That is his natural instinct. That's his brand. That's what he's known for. So their calculation was, if they apply the same strategy they use in crushing the UPC uprising in Cameroon in the 60s and the 70s, which led to the death of 400,000 Camerooners. They thought they had established a great playbook that will work for Ambazonia. That's why when the Ambazonian people rose up to demand for reforms in the colonial system of education and the colonial legal system, Mr. Biya activated his natural response, which is violence, and eventually officially declaring war. Almost 9 years later, that strategy has failed. Cameroon is splintering. Within the CPDM itself, it's fracturing. You now have different centers of power. Some benefits, support the war, running the war as a political capital. Others oppose the war because politically it's not good for them. Some have are now also benefiting from the war because they have political appointments. They have a lot of power being given to them. People like Atangaji Paul, the colonial prime minister, all Ambazonian parliamentarians and senators appointed by Mr. Biya, they are all political beneficiaries of this war. Mr. Biya has given them new homes in Yaoundé and Douala, and they have to pay them a lot of money to remain silent against their own conscience, even when their own people are being killed, even when massacres are taking place at their doorsteps, even when it affects their own relatives, their own families directly, even when it affects their constituencies. Even when it's against their own values and beliefs. So they support Mr. Biya not because it's politically convenient, but it's because it's a survival strategy. Political survival, career survival, financial survival, economic survival, social survival, cultural survival, significant survival, fame. Their entire lives evolves around their obedience and loyalty to Mr. Biya and the CPDM party. When you take that away from them, they become nothing. That's why they are supporting violence. That's why they support these massacres. That's why they support the war. That's why they can't speak out. That's why they have all escaped, living in exile in Cameroon. So it has become a political inconvenience. They are losing popularity. They are losing reputation, if they had any. Culturally isolated, politically hated. So what else is left of them? Propaganda. The war effort has failed. War strategy failed. Why? Because the Ambazonian people put up a stiff resistance. That destroyed Cameroon itself. The war Mr. Biya declared on the Ambazonian people has become the cancer that has caused the 9,999 problems Cameroon now faces. The war Mr. Biya declared on the Ambazonian people is what has splintered the CPDM party and is causing such internal opposition to the system. It's what has bankrupted Cameroon politically, socially, economically, financially, diplomatically. Now they have to live on borrowing on a weekly basis. He's putting out posts. Going here to borrow 10 billion. Going there to borrow 100 billion. They want to clear garbage on the streets of Yaoundé and Douala. Mr. Biya has to go borrow money somewhere. If they want to provide water in a community, Mr. Biya has to go borrow money somewhere. They want to pay teachers, Mr. Biya has to go borrow money. They want to pay medical doctors and practitioners, Mr. Biya has to go borrow money. To even pay the B, Mr. Biya has to go borrow money. These are all consequences of the stupid decisions to declare war on the Ambazonian people. So things are falling apart. Cameroon now has no other choice. But they don't want to accept that, hey, we've been defeated. So they resorted to propaganda. What is that propaganda? The Vice President of Ambazonia Governing Council, Dr. Julius Nye, the Deputy Leader of the Liberation, will be speaking to the Ambazonian people and the international community tomorrow. Prepare yourselves and pay very close attention. Make sure if you're on ground zero, charge your phone. Get your generator. Make sure if you have a generator, make sure you have petrol or gas, yes, gasoline. To make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's very important. The message is critical. So Cameroon has lost the war. Cameroon is economically destroyed. Cameroon is disintegrating. So they have to resort to propaganda. The colonial prime minister was in Buea over the weekend. Dion Gute. To do what? On a propaganda mission. So when all else, when everything failed, they will resort to propaganda. So the colonial prime minister was in Buea. Where was he received? The colonial prime minister was received at the Mungo Bridge, at the territorial boundary between Ambazonia and Cameroon. Why? They did this unconsciously. It wasn't planned. They didn't know the consequence and how this is going to turn against them. By the colonial prime minister leaving La Republique right up to Douala, passing through Douala, getting to the Mungo Bridge, and asking all the chiefs of Fako to come to the border between Ambazonia and Cameroon to welcome the colonial prime minister is number one, an acknowledgement of the separate entities of the two territories. Is stepping into the Ambazonian territory. Number two, they got all these chiefs to travel to the Mungo Bridge to receive the colonial prime minister, because they are trying to say, hey, there is some form of normalcy that has returned. But the whole game, it's a political game for the colonial prime minister to launch the presidential election campaign on behalf of Mr. Biya for the CPDM party. So what they are telling the population is, hey, I've been sent by the head of state. Na papa po Biya. He don't send me make a camp for here. Can't talk for una. Na papa po Biya. He don't send the son of the soil. May he come meet up the people them. Na papa po Biya. He don't send me. Papa po Biya. Papa po Biya. Now he don't send me. Make a come meet up una for talk for una about the presidential reconstruction plan. All that one, na nonsense. Dion Gute came to Buea. Yes, I digressed a little bit just to speak in pidgin. It's okay, right? We can go back and forth. So, the colonial prime minister went to Buea to launch the CPDM presidential election campaign, to get all these chiefs that are beneficiaries of the occupation and the war to start mobilizing their community with bags of money, bags of rice, cups of salt, with 500 to bribe and corrupt the people, to send images out that the people support Cameroon. They don't. It's a propaganda game. We saw that during the 20th May, how they have to ferry people from Douala and Yaoundé to bring them to Ambazonia, how they have to pay students 500, how they have to pay CPDM militants, pay women 500 to go march. So it's a political game. These things are not working. Cameroon, Mr. Biya, the colonial prime minister, they are all afraid that the United States is going to take a unilateral decision and recognize Ambazonia. Because the path of war, the path of violence is not working, has failed. And Mr. Biya has created a humanitarian disaster and a crisis that must be solved. Just like what Netanyahu created in Gaza is unsustainable. The assault on civilian infrastructure, on medical infrastructure, on educational infrastructure, the assault on towns, villages, cities, including UN buildings destroyed, European hospital destroyed, all medical infrastructure destroyed. The world cannot sit and watch for long. And it's politically inconvenient to Western elites. That's why they are now calling for a return to a two-state solution. Spain has recognized Spain has recognized Palestine. Norway has recognized Palestine. Ireland has recognized Palestine. Canada, France, and UK are setting up a conference at the United Nations for the recognition of Palestine and to demand a two-state solution because it has become politically inconvenient for them. It's against Western values and the rule-based international system they created. Thank God for the election of Mr. Makane, who came back and reminded them of these values. Same thing is happening in Cameroon. The Biya's regime cannot survive politically. They've lost the war, bankrupted the state, fractured the society. Now they have to find another way out to survive politically. Biya is not a man of peace. He's a brutal murderer. He believes in violence and massacres. That has now failed. Thanks to the leadership Dr. Cho gave the Ambazonian people, the forces he built, the strategy he created, that is now being adopted and used by all Ambazonian movements and defense forces across the Ambazonia territory. That's how we have survived the Ambazonian people and reclaimed the dignity of who we are as a people. Method for method. because he studied the enemy, because he studied the occupier and understood their mindset. That's why we have achieved victory, and that's why Ambazonia has prevailed. Now Cameroon has a problem to solve. Cameroon is the occupying power in Ambazonia. For Mr. Biya to survive politically, Mr. Biya and the CPDM party have now come to some level of reasoning. It's all political calculation for survival. Negotiation is the only way for Mr. Biya to survive and for the CPDM party to survive politically. This is the new calculation. This is how they want to redeem themselves. War is politics using other methods. War is politics using other methods. When those methods fail, people will start seeking alternatives. Mr. Biya and the CPDM regime in the last few months are looking for new alternatives for survival because Ambazonia has prevailed. We've shown them their strategy of warmongering, violence, massacre, ethnic cleansing, and genocide will not work. Mr. Biya wants to negotiate. Mr. Biya is looking for an exit to save face and maintain some level of dignity. Is looking for an achievement strategy to find a way to have a legacy after 43 years of failure. Mr. Biya is looking for a legacy. Cannot achieve battlefield victory, cannot achieve the extermination of 8 million Ambazonians, cannot ethnically cleanse 8 million Ambazonians, and cannot destroy all the towns, villages, and cities in Ambazonia because of the stiff resistance of our civilian population and our defense forces, because of our strategy. Now it's looking for an alternative, a negotiated settlement, as a way to achieve peace and have a legacy upon which he can die with and he can be remembered for. There are movement in terms of diplomatic activities between Yaoundé and Oslo, Norway. Between Oslo, Norway and Canada. It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of engagement to build momentum and pick up steam in bringing this conflict to an end. But first, you have to understand the only reason they are pursuing an alternative is because the primary strategy of war, violence, genocide, ethnic cleansing, and massacres to conquer and occupy Ambazonia has failed. That's why they're looking for a secondary option, which will give them political survival and survival of the Cameroon state. They are not coming to talk because they like you or they love you or want their humanity. They are coming to talk because we've delivered a strategic defeat to Cameroon, and our economic sabotage strategy have put them on financial economic drip, living out on borrowing. So the state cannot survive financially or economically. They cannot survive diplomatically. That's why. Because we've placed a chokehold on Mr. Biya and the system. That's why they want to talk. The survival of the state of Cameroon depend on Mr. Biya, the colonial prime minister, to engage in a negotiated settlement. It's the only way Cameroon can find peace, security, and stability. Without Ambazonia, without an end to this conflict, Cameroon will disintegrate. So peace talks, negotiated settlement, and a peaceful resolution of this conflict is to the interest of Cameroon itself. And that is that interest they want to secure. A peaceful solution of the conflict is for the greater benefit to the state of Cameroon and the people of Cameroon. They are accepting the inevitable. Recognition of Ambazonia. The right of self-determination of the Ambazonian people. And this time around, we will speak for ourselves. This time around, Ambazonia will speak for itself. Just as we did during Canada talks. We have some of the most competent people. We have some of the best brains and experts that will negotiate for Ambazonia. We will speak as one. We'll go in as one. We will secure the self-determination, the freedom, the justice, the accountability, and the sovereignty of the Ambazonian people. This is who we are. Have faith. Trust in your leadership. Believe in your leadership. Tomorrow, the deputy commander, the deputy leader will be speaking to you all. And in the coming days or weeks, maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, we will be launching the new legal organization created in the United States, an umbrella organization created by key Ambazonian experts for public mobilization of all Ambazonians of all political shades and opinion, for the political protection, legal rights, for political lobbying, for diplomacy, and for humanitarian purposes. We'll be launching the organization so that we can publicly mobilize resources for our legal, political, diplomatic, lobbying, and humanitarian efforts to take care of our people, our prisoners, our refugees, and victims of Mr. Biya's genocide. So in the coming weeks, the coming days, you'll be hearing from different Ambazonians, people you've never seen before, will be talking to you for the first time and telling you the importance as to why you have to commit, as why we have to support the lobbying effort, the legal efforts, the diplomatic efforts taking place across the globe, and also especially our lobbying effort, our robust lobbying effort taking place within the United States. In summary, Mr. Biya's calculation to re-engage in peaceful negotiations is because of two things. Ambazonia's strategic defeat of Cameroon, the loss of the war, for them to survive politically. Secondly, the Ambazonia Governing Council new strategy to engage in lobbying within the new Trump administration has put Cameroon in a panic mode. And Mr. Biya, the French and the British now have come to the conclusion, if they don't support a political settlement of this conflict, then Mr. Trump will make a unilateral declaration for the recognition of Ambazonia. That's why Cameroon is now in a haste. They're in a rush to negotiate. Ambazonia, their time. When I work, on activities, on resilience, all the fight when I don't fight, it don't bring all we for this place for achieve this collective victory. And I continue for support the forces, fund the forces, for maintain the armed resistance on the ground. While Cameroon, we and the international system will work out the new mechanism for the negotiation. As La Republique do one negotiate, make una know say at the time this way the war go intensify, because then they fight, we will fight for gain some advantage on the table. We must push for maintain our strength and authority on the ground, for make sure say we strengthen our position for negotiation. My discussion, this one we talk about, take some time, can't talk on it today. Tomorrow, the vice president, he will talk for all man. All right? We thank you all. Una stay strong. Happy Country Sunday. Happy Day of Resistance. Shake, day. God bless all man.
Mama to hear mangya, makawa hear away. Manamo, maganimo, mama to bina binibo, makawa bina mambuwe. Manamo, maganimo, mama to hear mangya, makawa hear away. Manamo, mabiranimo, pango, mama te bina binibo, makawa bina mambuwe. Ah, Lord, you've come through for me. Manamo, maganimo, mama te yire mangya, makawa yira we. Manamo, pango, maganimo, mama te bina binibo, makawa bina mambuwe. Awuna makawana, magona nara wakwa. Yahweh gane one wafakani gon, babra chima chamabo. Awuna makagona, magon sawakwa. Yahweh gane one wafakani gon, babra chima chamabo. A bonga think that my pen away. A bonga think that my pen away. Manamo, anymore. Mama to hear mamma, Makawa year away. Manamo, Maganimo. Mama to be a binabo, Makawa bin a mamma. I wanna Makazanga, Mapoman young Sawakwa. Yahweh, and one wolf a canizanga, my village, much I'm a ball. I wanna Makazanga, my woman young and I will be. Yahweh, and one wolf a canizanga, my village, much I'm a ball. I wanna Makazanga, my son, I will be. Yahweh, and one wolf a canizanga, my village, much I'm a ball. Oh, bonga finga dagani, wewo, mabuchi machamane. Oh, bonga finga danumi, wewo, mabuchi machamane. We are the one woman. Mabuchi machamane. Bumo ana wana you a kugigu. I was in a winning bull with a zomana. My banana. But you can't sing him a bird upon the chim. You can't sing him a bird upon the chim. Come your cover sang the bird upon the chim. Manamo. Mawalanemo, Mama Tira Mamia, Makawa Yirawe. Manamo, Maganemo, Mama Tabina Binabo, Makawa Bina Mambe. A bonga think that Tawe. Been away upon a thing to die. I've been away. No coffee, no year.
Welcome to ACN.